Well, hello and welcome to Old Testament 301, Old Testament Foundations. So glad you've been able to join us for this course, and I'm trusting that you're really looking forward to all that God has in store for you throughout this semester. A few things just to say to you right from the very beginning. First of all, I want to remind you that week by week there are set readings from your textbook. And so I want to make sure that you've gotten a hold of your textbook, and that every week you recognise the importance of reading through the prescribed pre-readings. Usually it's just about one chapter per week, but sometimes it might be even a couple of chapters, but it shouldn't take you too long. But you'll find that that will help you enormously if you've done the pre-readings and you've carefully gone over the material, so that when we come to class, or even when you're doing the online studies, that so much of what we are talking about will begin to mesh together with the things that you have already read. So please make sure that you don't neglect your reading. That is so vitally important to you in this journey. In this first module, we're going to be looking particularly at what we call the canon of the Old Testament. Of course, when we talk about the canon of the Old Testament, we're not talking about something like a cannon that goes off with a great boom, but what we're talking about is the full scope of the material that is contained in the Old Testament, right from the book of Genesis all the way through to the book of Malachi. We want to have a look at how this whole collection of writings was drawn together under the inspiration of the Spirit of God over a period of so many years. We're going to be looking at this Old Testament scriptures and understanding how what we have today and call our Old Testament scriptures is in fact the self-same material that is contained in the Hebrew Bible, albeit the arrangement of some of the books in the Hebrew Bible is somewhat different, and we'll have a look at some of the reasons for that. But in this whole journey, one of the things that we're going to want to look together at is how we go about studying then this ancient book called the Old Testament. We want to look for appropriate ways to be able to dig into these scriptures so that we can hear and understand not only the heart of God, but what God is wanting to say. Because these ancient texts still speak to us today. They speak so powerfully. And as we continue on in our studies of the Old Testament, we will see again and again how what we find in these Old Testament scriptures is in fact the unfolding of God's great salvation plan, a plan conceived in the heart of God even before the world was created. And so we'll see how this plan of God's salvation increasingly becomes clearer and clearer and clearer as God calls out a people for himself. And all of this plan is ultimately pointing to the coming of the one through whom his salvation plan would be ultimately fulfilled, and that is the coming of the Christ, the Lord Jesus. So we're going to enjoy the journey as we see the Old Testament coming to life for us, perhaps in ways that you'd never even begun to realise before. I'm sure that every single week there will be things in the lessons that you'll begin to discover that you never even knew were there. But you will find again and again that God is speaking to us even today through these ancient texts. And so I'm encouraging you to seize this opportunity to grow not only in your understanding of the Bible, but your understanding of God. Throughout the semester, you will find that every single week that there are forum activities, and these are particularly designed for our online or distance students. And so I want to encourage our distance students to make sure that every week you look for those online forum questions. You will find them both on Moodle and you'll find them in the Learning Guide. Every week you need to address those questions that are there and fill in your responses online, and then I'll come back to you as well. But this is an integral part of your learning as well as a distance student. Well, we look forward to your involvement with us throughout this semester, and trust that you will find rich blessing in all that we are doing together. So God bless you now.